guys, welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room, all things Formula 1. Before we kick things off, I'd just like to apologise for the delay in upload. I had a fantastic weekend away with a great bunch of friends, seeing the touring cars at Thruxton. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So to Brad, Dan, Matt, James and Adam, thank you so much for a wonderful weekend of camping and getting drunk and eating plenty of meat. That sounded wrong. But yeah, thanks so much, guys. Absolutely fantastic weekend. Loved every minute of it. The best bank holiday weekend I've had in a long time. All their channels, if they have a YouTube channel, are in the description below, so feel free to check them out and drop them a sub. They're all a great bunch of guys, and yeah, absolutely fantastic weekend. So yeah, apologies for the delayed upload there, but it doesn't look like I missed a lot, did it? I didn't see anything to do with the Formula 1 this weekend at all. And I can't really see the point in going back and watching all those delays and, update in 5 minutes, formation lap in 10 minutes, another update in 15 minutes, and then 15 minutes will tell you that there's another update in 15 minutes, and then we'll do 2 laps behind the safety car and declare it a race at half points. What an utter shit show, and you know what that's going to be, don't you, for the FIA? It's going to be one of these!
I got myself a new Renault now. Yeah, it's an Iceland delivery truck, you bastards.
There you go indeed. Palmer of the week to Michael Massett and all the FIA team for the cracking shower of shite there. There were teams telling them, look, we can race on Monday, that's not a problem. We can, I mean, they knew the rain was coming. Couldn't they have started earlier? And I know it's unfair on the support package, but could they not have done the race earlier? I mean, I know it had been last minute and fans wouldn't have got in as quickly and there'd have been people missing the race that way, but better to have a race than not at all. I think there was more options that they could have done than that absolute debacle that they did do in the end. So I didn't know whether I was actually going to do this video or not, but I thought, no, I've got to keep continuity going, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly what the FIA have done, and I'm going to award half points based on qualifying. I'm not taking grid drops into account on this, you must understand, so anyone that had carried over a penalty or anyone that got a penalty, I won't be carrying over into the results for these points. I'm sure there'll still be people disagreeing, so yeah, the maximum people can score for this weekend if you've never seen this series before, and if you are watching now, why? Because this was an absolutely terrible race and I don't recommend anyone ever goes back in history and watches it. But yes, if you have been randomly recommended this video and you've never seen this series before, usually I award the drivers out of a maximum of 10 points if they have a particularly good weekend. And if they're a particularly bad weekend, I can go all the way down to 0. Bonus points can be awarded, and of course minus points can be awarded as well if they do really badly. But as mentioned, we can only go to a maximum of 5 this weekend due to it being a shower of shite and qualifying was the result. So of course, Max Verstappen, pole position, nice easy peasy one start. It's going to be 5 points. That's the maximum we can get this weekend. And yeah, pole position, it wasn't looking likely, was it? Had a scruffy FP2 session where he went off, a couple of cars going off in unusual places during the practice session, but ultimately delivered the pole position, so deserves the 5 points there. I'll allow Max a slight off in FP2 there, he rarely makes mistakes, so yeah, we'll allow him that. And yeah, got pole position, which netted him 12.5 points, so 5 points on the Crawl Room. And of course, next up is George Russell, the only driver I am sure that would have been happy with this result, a finish in P2. To be honest, this is the only guy I would have felt for if they'd have cancelled the race completely and gone, no points awarded, it's not been declared a race. George, I would have felt really sorry for having a cracking qualifying and then not scoring any points. But in terms of everything else, it was an absolute farce, wasn't it? Absolute farce. I don't think it should have been declared as a race and they should have looked at alternatives. But George, nonetheless, picking up his maiden podium after a stunning qualifying lap. Reminiscent of Bottas back in 2013 in the shite Williams, and of course Hulkenberg at Brazil back in 2010 in also changeable wet conditions, picking up the pole, didn't it, all those years ago? So absolutely reminiscent of those 2 memorable moments in qualifyings for, of course, the Williams squad, and really deserved P2 in qualifying. Amazing effort. Absolutely stunning, actually. He was almost pole, wasn't he? So I'm going to award 1 bonus point to George, and I think you'll allow me that. So it's going to be 6 points to George. Absolutely fantastic effort. He was the only one, in my personal opinion, that didn't deserve the race to be cancelled. I think I'd have been so gutted for him had it been cancelled and not declared points. So he's the only one I'm happy for this weekend. And he did deserve it, didn't he? Because he's had a lot of bad luck, and they've had a lot of near misses, Williams, and then these last two races have all come together for him, and they've romped massively ahead now by 17 points ahead of Alfa Romeo, and they fully deserve it. So, congratulations, George. Stunning effort. 6 points to you. And next up is, of course, Lewis Hamilton. Kept himself clean and tidy all weekend, but fundamentally in qualifying, just didn't get the lap together to get ahead of the Williams. Had he qualified P2, it would have been 5 points, but slipping behind the Williams, it's just going to be 4 this weekend for Lewis Hamilton. But again, didn't do anything wrong this weekend, but I'm only judging it on qualifying, and when you're behind the Williams, I have to knock a point off for that. But yeah, all incredibly difficult. I think had it been a race start, I think Hamilton would have maybe got the win this weekend. So yeah, I was expecting Spa advantage for Mercedes this weekend. Qualifying didn't quite come together for either car, but we never saw the race. So yeah, unfortunate weekend, because I think Mercedes could have got that one. But yeah, on to Holland next. The championship gap's closed, which is bullshit, but yeah, I'd like to say I don't agree with it all, but but never mind. But yeah, yeah, politics. It happened. Get on with it. So yeah, 4 points to Lewis Hamilton. And of course, Daniel Ricciardo. I think this was the most impressive qualifying performance for Ricciardo, not just because of his P4 position, but because he had to deliver after Lando's mistake, error. I mean, unfortunate really, wasn't he? He was so wet. Vettel was saying red flag before they'd even started the session. He says, it's too wet to go out, guys. And then Norris binned it, and then he was like, what did I tell you? So yeah, an unfortunate circumstance for Lando there, which we'll come to, of course, in a moment. But as for Ricciardo, he was under pressure to do well anyway, just because he's been struggling so much, and then to deliver a solid result for McLaren after Norris's downfall, that extra bit of pressure would have been on him to deliver, and he did it. So a cracking effort by Ricciardo. That's 5 points to him. Stunning lap. Really, really good that, and really, really impressive. So well done, Danny Rick. And then we come to Sebastian Vettel, of course. And again, as mentioned, absolutely stunning, stunning guy, isn't he? He's proven himself to be such a humble bloke these days, and he seems to have changed so much. And he stopped his car to make sure Norris gave him the thumbs up after he had the crash, of course, through Radion. After losing it through Eau Rouge. And yeah, a big accident for Norris there, and Vettel was like, I told you, red flag, it was unnecessary, totally unnecessary. Is Lando okay? And he went, yeah, he had a big shunt at the top of Eau Rouge, buddy. So he stopped it and then was like, make sure he gave him the thumbs up. And I've no doubt in my mind that if there was no response from Lando after Vettel stopped and gave him the thumbs up, I'm pretty confident Seb would have jumped out and tried to help any way he could, because that's the kind of guy he is. So fair play to Seb for that, and a cracking qualifying to go with it. So it's going to be 5 points to Sebastian Vettel as well. Yeah, really nice guy, isn't he, Seb? And a lot of people that hated him, including myself in the Ferrari days and the latter half, are regretting that now, and we're starting to love him again. So yeah, and I'm happy to always be proved wrong. So well done, Seb. And Pierre Gasly carrying the AlphaTauri team once again. Nice and easy with this one. Another 5 points. Cracking effort. Really good qualifying. Once again by Gasly, delivering and over-delivering potentially in that AlphaTauri, while Tsunoda's not getting it together, is he? Even after the summer break, still not managing to piece it all together. But there we go. Cracking effort by Gasly though. 5 points to him. And next up is Esteban Ocon, the winner of Hungary. Slightly harsh on this one. It's going to be 4 points. I'd just like to see him sneak ahead of Gasly potentially. I think the Alpine car is a little bit better than that AlphaTauri. But the wet conditions, the tricky conditions, I know you can lose so much time if you get it ever so slightly wrong. But not to put anything down on him. I just think it was not his best qualifying performance of the season. So that's why it's 4 points. He'd have probably got ahead of him in the race had we had one, but we didn't have one, and they shouldn't have given half points. I'm going to keep saying it, but there we go. So yeah, 4 points to Ocon. And then we come to Sha-la-la. And here he is, Sha-la-la his way out of Q2. Unfortunately was 11th, wasn't he, in the end, so didn't quite make the Q3 cut. But here he is as a result of course, Bottas's penalty, Norris's penalty. Is that it? Was there anyone else? I think that was it, wasn't it? But yeah, he elevated himself to get a couple of points anyway. Oh, of course, Perez crashing. That what got him up another place, didn't it? So he was fortunate to get points, because without those grid penalties and without Perez crashing, he'd have still been P11. So I'm not going to mark anything really. I'm not going to award him points because he got points. It's just going to be 3 points for that sort of middle of the road effort there, with 11th in qualifying. Of course it was for him, and he was lucky to pick up a couple of points due to other people's penalties, and it being awarded half points racing. I shouldn't be, and I'm going to keep saying it, but there we go. Yeah, so 3 points to Sha. And then we come to Nicholas Latifi, another one to benefit massively from the penalties and the crashes ahead, because he picks up a point. He picks up a point. He finished P9, so half of 2 is earned. Unfortunately, Latifi, you are disqualified on the Krull Room, but since I've disqualified him, he's got better at it. He's had 2 points finishes, so well done, Nick. I think that was a cracking effort for P12 in qualifying. I know George is up there in P2, but George is a superstar. Latifi's just missed a solid. I'd have still expected him to be out in Q1, let alone Q2 and P12, splitting Ferraris. So a cracking effort, a worthy note, but unfortunately, Nick, you're disqualified. But I'm very happy to see you doing well. And I'm pleased that this disqualification has given you the kick up the arse that you needed, because I know every Formula 1 driver watches this series. And this was the boost you needed, so well done, Nick. Another point on your record, and another double points finish for Williams, which is crazy, isn't it, to say. And then we come to Carlos Sainz again, P13 in qualifying, nothing stunning, but picks up half a point due to the half-point finish, and of course the penalties ahead. I'm going to keep mentioning them. Yeah, so there you go. It's going to be 3 points to him as well, matching his teammate. The Ferrari didn't look comfortable, did it? But neither lap was a stunning lap by him, and both very lucky to pick up a couple of points each, or half a point, or whatever it works out at in the end for the Ferrari squad, due to the other penalties. So yeah, there you go. That's the last of the point scorers, sort of, in the race. And yeah, 3 points to Carlos Sainz. Just outside the points, I say points, I just don't know what to call it, to be honest, but outside the top 10 and outside not getting any points and whatever, it was Fernando Alonso, and it's going to be 3 points to Fernando. Difficult qualifying behind his teammate, elevated and got a bit of advantage due to other people's penalties, so that's why he's there in P11. And yeah, 3 points to Fernando, nothing special. Next up is Valtteri Bottas, and a poor qualifying and then a 5-place grid drop. So not very good there, was it, Bottas? But the 5-place grid drop was deserved. He was shite in qualifying. It'd have been shite in the race, wouldn't he? Because he does not do wet at all, does he? So he'll be blessed. Do you know what? Actually, Bottas will be quite relieved that that race didn't go ahead, because he wouldn't have scored points anyway. And he'd have maybe have harpooned a few cars, who knows? But yeah, so I think he can breathe a sigh of release that he's not looked shit. He looked shit in qualifying, but he didn't look shit in the race. So yeah, Bottas, sigh of relief, but he's disqualified on the Krull Room, and he will remain that way because he's garbage. And then, of course, it's Antonio Giovinazzi, the Italian stallion, once again. Out in Q1, he's in 13th, 14th, whatever he is with penalties. Yeah, poor qualifying by Alpha. I keep saying, and I kept saying, if you keep dropping the ball, Alpha, then Williams are going to catch you, and this is exactly what's happened this weekend. Of course, I never expected Alfa Romeo to be a P2 like George has done, but I expected them to be in Q2 at least. You know, the car isn't that bad. I am not believing that car has suddenly got that bad where it can't exit Q1 now. And Williams have all of a sudden got that good that they can get both cars into Q2 on numerous occasions. I don't believe it, and I think there's a lot of ball dropping going on at Alfa Romeo, and a lot of mistakes are being made either by a driver or by a team. And for that reason, it's just 1 point to Antonio Giovinazzi. Very disappointing. Alfa Romeo will be crying now, because what was already looking unlikely to beat Williams is now nigh on impossible with a 17-point gap to catch them in P8. So yeah, it's just so silly and so strange, and that's why I believe both drivers will be replaced next year. Yeah, Antonio, poor qualifying and stiff. And then it's Lando Norris, and what could be said for Lando? He was looking promising for, I personally believe, looking back at that qualifying session, I think he could have been a front row starter. It was looking mighty in Q1 and Q2, and the unfortunate crash in Q3, I don't really want to put him down for it, but I feel I've got to, because he could have been on the front row there. So it's going to be 3 points to Lando, a generous 3 I believe, but I didn't want to come down too hard on him because a lot of drivers were saying the conditions were too wet to start that Q3 session, and I think had Lando not crashed it would have been someone else, and I think it could have quite easily been Max Verstappen, Hamilton, Ricciardo. It could have been another good driver, of course, that have got through into that Q3 session. I just think it was luck of the draw, and unfortunately Lando's luck ran out once again. So unfortunate there by Lando, but he'll pick himself up, dust himself off, and go again at Holland for the Dutch Grand Prix. I cannot wait for Zandvoort. It's going to be an interesting one. Qualifying is going to be crucial there as well, isn't it? Tight and twisty circuit, not much overtaking opportunity. But we'll see. But yeah, just 3 points to Lando Norris. And then it's Yuki Tsunoda, the curious case of Yuki Tsunoda. Well, it's not really curious anymore, is he? He's just regularly out in Q1. Where was he? 16th, 17th, somewhere like that. Poor really. Poor, and there's Gasly up into Q3. So yeah, 1 point to Yuki Tsunoda. Short and sweet with that one. A poor effort. And then we come to Mick Schumacher, my personal qualifier of the day, because he out-qualified Kimi Raikkonen, and that shouldn't happen in a Haas, especially around a big circuit like Spa. And I know everyone always says, yeah, but the wet conditions mitigate the lack of downforce and the lack of traction that a car has, etc., and it kind of levels the playing field a bit. But that ass is dog shit. I'm sorry, but if a car is dog shit in the dry, it's going to be even more dog shitter in the rain. So, fair play to Mick Schumacher for out-qualifying Kimi Raikkonen in that Alfa Romeo. And it's going to be 5 points to him. That was a good effort by Mick Schumacher to out-qualify any car other than his teammate. So, fair play to him for that. And a thoroughly deserving 5 points there. So, well done, Mick. And next up, of course, is Nikita Mazepin. And we don't score in points. The Cruel Room scoreboard does it all for us with the capable hands of Dan Mushy Gaming. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what he's put. He normally puts words. I think we're getting new Spin Me Right Round Baby on at the minute. And then we have just all fun with his names, etc. So yeah, look forward to that at the end. But we don't deal with Nikita Mazepin because he's a bit of a dick. And next up is Lance Stroll. Short and sweet with this one. He's down there because of penalties. Not a bad qualifying, but not fantastic. And it's going to be 3 points to Lance Stroll for that one. Yeah, just middle of the road, unfortunate. Like I said, the qualifying wasn't really great, but it wasn't bad either. And the 5 place grid drop just shoved him down the order too much, didn't it? So, yeah, there you go. 3 points to Lance Stroll. I'm a bit generous with that one, but there we go. Middle of the road for him. And then we come to Kimi Raikkonen, and again with the Alfa Romeo, dropping the ball behind a Haas in qualifying now. 1 point. It's going to be 1 point. It just so frustrating to see it, isn't it, that they've just dropped the ball massively. But there we go. Can't keep dwelling on these things. Hopefully one day they'll get better, and I hope it's soon. Yeah, such a shame really though, isn't it? But yeah, just 1 point to Kimi. And then last but by no means least is of course Sergio Perez, and it's going to be 2 points to him. I don't think the qualifying was fantastic, and then crashing on his way to the grid, I could really go down hard on him and say, look, you know, that were pathetic, that was stupid, what were you doing? But it's like a Lando situation, isn't it? If it's too wet to start the race, then it could have so easily happened to any driver that they crashed on the way to the reconnaissance lap. So on the way to the grid, they could have crashed. Anyone could have, and just happened to be Perez. Good to see that he signed a contract for next year, though, with Red Bull. I said that they needed continuity in my update and my predictions for the 2022 grid. And nice to see I've been proven right with that one. And a bit of common sense finally prevailing at Red Bull. But unfortunately this time around, Sergio Perez did nothing really to help Red Bull. Crashing out of a points-paying position, which would have been half points. He was 7th, wasn't he? So that would have been 1.5, 3. 3. You get 6, don't you? So 3. 3 points it would have been to Red Bull, which would have really helped them. But unfortunately, they didn't come to their way this weekend. One of those things, 2 points. And that's that. So guys, those were the runners and riders of the Belgium Grand Prix. Let me know in the comments section what you thought of the Belgium Grand Prix, what the FIA could have done differently. Should they have scheduled it sooner when they knew that the race was going to be wet, but not as wet as it would have been? Of course, that would have hindered support car races, so I can understand the choice that they didn't do that. But it was an option. They're the main focal point of the weekend, aren't they, of course? Or would you have delayed it till Monday? Some teams were saying that they will race on Monday. I remember Alpine was very vocal about racing on the Monday and said, look, we're only a few hours down the road from Zandvoort, we can stay another day. Again, you've got the issue with fans. Would they be allowed back in on the next day, etc.? Will the tickets be valid? Will they be allowed to camp the extra day? So yeah, I can understand there was a lot of permutations there, but I just think in some of these situations you've got to go, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's everyone race on a Monday. If you can make it, you can make it. Fans, if you can't make it, we'll give you a refund. But unfortunately, instead, they were treated to 2 laps behind a safety car, parading round just to declare it as half points, and they won't be getting any money back. And I think that is wrong. I think people should be allowed the choice to see a race. You can't do anything about the weather, but you can really help do something to mitigate the issues that the fans have been having, such as letting them stay an extra day camping, such as letting them come back in the next day. And like I said, if they couldn't come back the next day, offer them a refund. There was more ways around it, I personally feel, than just doing 2 laps behind a safety car, declaring it at half points, and having an utter shambles like that. So yeah, big balls up by the FIA this weekend. And I think a lot of heads will roll. Could this be Michael Massey's last season in Formula One, potentially after that fiasco? Yeah, absolutely diabolical though, wasn't it? So as always, thanks a lot for watching, guys. And yeah, I will see you all next Monday for the Dutch Grand Prix review. Hopefully, we get a bloody race. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. And as always, much love.